ready for bed at a regular time is one of the most important habits you can learn.
Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters! Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Oh, Lori, scared another one away.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
We are counselors at Hackett's Quarry Summer Camp. There is a swarm of bears.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
No! Glenn! Somebody help me, please!
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you.
It's showtime.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode, wonderful episode of the Screen Stream. Now, we are here on episode 27, and I have to say, this one was definitely a treat to watch. This one is 1963's Black Sabbath. Has nothing to do with the band, by the way. Nothing to do with the band. It's an Italian anthology horror film. Nothing to do with our favorite rock band. But Black Sabbath, of course, stars one of my favorite old school horror actors, Boris Karloff. For y'all who don't know, look up Universal Monster movies. Look him up. He's a fantastic actor. Did tremendously well in the Universal horror pictures. I can name several movies off the bat, but he's got a good filmography behind him. Not cinematography, filmography. But Black Sabbath was written by Antoine Chekhov. Now, guys, you gotta forgive me a little bit for this because, again, this is an Italian anthology horror film. So a lot of these people's names, I'm gonna do my best to pronounce. Again, I'm dyslexic, so if I mess anybody up, I'm sorry. I'll do my best. But Anton Chekhov, yeah, Chekhov, that's his name. Anton Chekhov. He wrote this with several other writers. Some of them are actually uncredited in this. But this is basically 3 different stories, all 3 told with a unique, different supernatural element to it. And if you watch the American version of this movie, it has several introductions with Boris Karloff himself in it. Not only is he starring in one of these short stories, he's also the little intermission guy to set up each story. Because in the Italian version, they have, I think, at the beginning and the end, and then, of course, there's one story, which, to be frank, wasn't that bad, but I do like the American version where they added him in there as, like, a continuation to each story, because they really don't set up a lot of these stories going in it when you watch the Italian version. Now, I'm going to say, though, the Italian version did have something one up on the American version of this movie, because I did watch both, because funny enough, okay, so I went to watch this movie, and I watched the American version of it. And as I was doing my information and stuff, I got told that in one of the stories, the AIP, which is the American International Pictures, changed some stuff around. And I was just like, whoa, what did they change? They said they changed aspects to one of the characters in the story to change some stuff, I guess because at the time it was uncomfortable matters to speak about. Let's go back to the Peeping Tom incident from last week that we talked about, how the UK acted towards the explicit violence and the prostitution there. Kind of the same scenario applies here. So I was just like, okay, well, let me watch the Italian version. And they're basically the same in some aspects. I will say the American version lacks a little bit of the extra gore, not really gore or gratuitousness, but in one of the stories, one of the characters holds up a severed head at one point. And in the American version, it cuts the moment he pulls the head and always sees the top of the hair. And in the Italian version, we see the full head and the dad shaking her around like, yeah, I got that son of a bitch. And then he throws the head. Like, I'm not even joking. That's not even out of context. That's an actual scene in this movie. But yeah, they cut out a lot of the extra, I guess, I don't know, body horror imagery or something like that. They moved a few little bitty scenes around, like in the same story. There's a moment where in the beginning in the American version, you see somebody following another person in the snow, and then it cuts to the random guy who we get to know is Count Vladimir, shows up, and then the story continues. That actual scene takes place later on in the movie, but because we don't know these characters, how it's set up, it really doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't really change much. You know, a couple of. I think right here I got it written down. And this story is they had alternate cuts to this movie or to this story in particular. So again, some of the violence, some of the other stuff was just moved around. Some of the scenes were moved around. The last one, called A Drip of Water, not really much was changed between the American version and the Italian version. But the one called Telephone, The Telephone, that one changed a lot. So apparently in the American version, which we will be actually talking about the Italian version, because that's the version I prefer watching both versions. I'm not going to lie, I like the Italian version. But in the American version, the story goes this woman's being haunted by phone calls by a ghost. And she thinks this ghost is an old ex of hers named Frank, and he's coming to kill her. They even had this scene where she gets a note slid underneath the door. She picks it up, and it literally writes out, "You will die by dawn." Like, it literally writes it out for her. But in the Italian version, the piece of paper is a flyer, or not a flyer, but like a wanted poster with Frank's name on it, because he's a pimp. And she's a prostitute. And she has a lesbian relationship with a girl named Mary. And again, in the American version, none of this is implied. Like, they cut all that out. The ghost, the pimp thing, the prostitute thing, the girls being lesbians. They cut all that out. They added a weird moment with some random dude in the hallway with his dogs going, "Oh, nobody's out there, boy. Don't be barking." And the dog's just barking away. And she gets scared. She opens the door, sees the man. She's like, "Oh my God." Oh. And he's just like, "Ma'am, are you all right?" Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. And she goes back inside and closes the door. It's just like, why? But yeah, they added that instead of the prostitute and the pimp thing. And again, I want to say it just has to do with the timing, because yet again, like I said, Peeping Tom, we saw how well that worked out for that director. Poor Michael Powell. Poor Michael Powell got the short end of the fuck stick there, didn't he? But because there's 3 stories, each story is actually told at a different time in a different place. So, Telephone actually takes place in France. They didn't give it a particular year, but Michelle Mercier plays Rosie. Linda Alphonsi, Alfonsi, she plays Mary. And then we got Milo Alswin. My name is... I'm actually questioning my own handwriting here. I'm not quite sure if I'm trying to put a Q or an A there. I'm not sure. I can't really say much on his acting chops because we only see him at the end of the story, but he plays Frank. Kind of a creepy guy. If that was him on the phone, I want to say that was him on the phone. I think the same guy who plays the Frank in the movie does the Frank voice over the phone. It would make the most sense. So I will say, at least his voice is creepy. He can do a great creep impression. We'll get there when we get there, though. The other one would be A Drop of Water, which is actually in London in 1910. We got Jacqueline Perreux. Like, seriously, it's spelled Pierreux. That's not even a misspelling on my part. That's actual her name. but she plays Helen. We got Millie Monty, who plays the maid, and then we got Harriet Medden, who played the creepy ghost we'll see throughout that story. And then the creme de la creme story, which is one of the longer stories. I'm not gonna lie. Telephone and Drop of Water are like maybe 25 minutes, I want to say. The Vordlak, which is spelled, I kid you not, Wurdulak, but it's spelled like Vordlak or something like that. It's in the 19th century, and this is the one that has Boris Karloff in it playing, I think his name is Gorka, Gorka, Gorca. I just called him Grandpa because he was just creepy, man. He did a great job being fucking creepy. I'm not gonna lie. Mark Damon did Count Vladimir. Susie Anderson played. I'm gonna do my best to pronounce her name. Sandika. Like, he said it kind of weird. I thought he was saying Daniels for the longest time, but it's like Sadika. It's like Sdenka. Again, not sure how to pronounce that. And of course, you got. I just realized what this guy's name is, and I have to laugh because of 365 days. Mimosa. Massimo. And if you have never seen 365 Days on Netflix, I suggest you watch the first one and never watch any of the rest of them again, because the first one just had me dying laughing. If that was a horror movie, I would totally talk about it, because it's a movie. It's a movie. If you know what I'm talking about, you get it. You get it. But Massimo Wright, who plays Pedro, Rika Dorona. I think so. Dorona plays Maria, and then we got Glacko. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that last name. Who plays Gregor? Fine stories, all of them. I have my likes and dislikes for each stories, but this is the way I leveled them. Telephone, Drop of Water, then Vorlok. And I say that because when we get to Vorlok, y'all will understand why I have a little bit of an issue. I get where they're going with it, but I just still had to pause it multiple times and go, you gotta be fucking kidding me. But something else that is a bit different with these movies as well, from the American to the Italian version, is also the scores. There is a bit of a difference with the scores, and I noticed this especially with the opening title alone. But the original creator was Roberto Nicolas. Yeah, Roberto Nicolas. Fantastic score, man. I'm not gonna lie. And Les Baxter, who did the score for the American version, he did a good job emulating him. But because certain aspects, especially in Telephone, got changed, he had to change up to beat some of the scores. So he did a good job, but not like Roberto over there, who did beautiful work, man. I'm not gonna lie. He did some beautiful 63 work there. But one of the biggest aspects, like I said, one of the biggest aspects that I like about this movie is because it's an Italian horror film. There's one thing I love about Italian horror films, and it's one of my favorite things, and it's the lighting. Something about Italian horror filmmakers love to use their lighting. And I don't mean like basic lighting, like an overhead light or a little extra lighting. No, these guys like to saturate their lights. Let's go back to one of my favorite horror movies, Suspiria, with all the bright, vivid reds and all the bright, vivid blues and greens and stuff. These guys know what the hell they're doing, because it really sets the tone. And it's not a joke when I say it sets the tone. Like, think about it if you're like a theater major or worked on stage production before. Certain lighting cues and effects really set the scene in motion. Like, take some like crazy like monologue scene and light it up a little bit. Like, seriously, like, go with the, like, if y'all remember Game of Thrones, y'all remember Tyrion's "I didn't do it, I didn't kill Joffrey" monologue? Change the lighting of that scene and it becomes a completely different scene. it becomes more of something that it's not, especially if you darken it or lighten it up. Even though it's a monologue and it hasn't changed much, but lighting in the scene can make or break a scene. And Italian horror film people really want you to feel the scene and make you feel the intense factor of this, especially when it gets dark, like when the lights go out or something. They have to use candle lighting. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. But yeah, both versions of the movie are really, really good. And like I said, the only weird aspect is a couple of scenes were changed in one. A few characters were changed in another one, and of course, in the American version compared to the Italian version, Borloff comes in and discusses what's going to happen in each movie. Now, there's going to be massive spoiler alerts for all these movies, so if you want to watch this, I actually found a version of the American version on YouTube. More than welcome to check it out. Black Sabbath, 63. There's several versions, but the one I have is good quality, and it was English, didn't need to be translated. But yes, major spoiler, guys, so just a heads up. Now, I will be talking about the parts where Boris Karloff would show off in the American version, because I just like those aspects. I know they're not in the Italian version, and I am talking about the Italian version, but I did like those little tidbits in the American version. Because also, another thing that is a bit different from the Italian version, this is the last thing, but the order of the stories. So I want to say in the Italian version, it was, I think, Telephone, Vorlock, and A Drip of Water. In the American version, I think it's A Drip of Water, then Telephone, and then or one the other ways around. Basically, the order of the movies changes depending on which version you watch. And the version I'm talking about is Telephone's first. Then it is Vorlock, and then A Drip of Water. So yeah, that's the Italian version I'm going with. And what makes it, like I said, because the order of the stories are a little bit different, there is an opening for Telephone that's at the end of the American version. So we'll start from there and then make our way back once we get through the opening. But let's go ahead and dive straight on into this, especially with the opening. Because in the Italian version of this, we have this really cool lighting effect where it's intense red and blue lighting, and Boris comes walking out, and then he has our conversation. Where in the American version, it's like a old school Haunting of Hill House with Boris' head just kind of floating there for a little bit. And then he kind of gets into an Alfred Hitchcock thing where he starts doing little skits before each of these things. Mainly he's just asking questions towards the audience. But we start off the movie with the beautiful color, again, intense blues and reds. He's standing there, and he's just like, welcome, I'm Boris Karloff. These are 3 scary tales. I hope you didn't come alone, because one of these tales has vampires. There could be a vampire sitting right next to you right now. But these are a little bit different. These only drink the blood of the ones, hang on. The exact quote was, they only drink the blood of the ones they love the best. And I know what you're thinking. What the hell do you mean, drink the ones they love the best? Best way I could describe it is just a family bond. It's a family bond. But it's a bit of a fun opening, especially if you were watching it back in the 60s in the theaters. Boris was kind of fucking with you a little bit, but just there could be a vampire sitting next to you and you wouldn't even know it. Or would you? Because they only attack the ones they love, and you're over there looking at your mom like, Mom, you're not going to bang me, are you? No, I'm not a vampire, darling. I just don't love you, one of the two. But of course, after he says that, he goes, listen to me, sharpen things away. So let's go on to our first story. And wait, is it? Oh, it's right here. So if we were watching the Italian version, we'll go automatically straight into the story. But like I said, because I want to add a little tidbits with Boris Karloff, talking before each story. Here we go. He asks, and he's doing this, by the way, while he is, with the telephone one. He is small, standing in front of a telephone, and he looks at the audience and goes, do you know anything about ghosts? And why, you as the audience members are questioning that, the phone rings in front of him, and he jumps back, and then there's another version of him standing there, and he answers the phone and goes, oh yes, we all know about the ghosts. We all know about that. They used to stalk creepy haunted houses. They used to walk around carrying their dusty old chains. But on this story, how don't you know where one could be? Or how do you know where one can be? Which, again, in the context of the American version, makes sense in some aspects because, again, it's supposed to be a ghost of a former lover calling the girl and not a pimp that just got out of, or just escaped from prison or something. So the whole little skit with him on the phone, do you know what a ghost is? Because that's a good question. A good question to set up the segment because, again, it's supposed to be about ghosts. Which, honestly, I wonder what it would have been like if they kept the actual premise. Like, what would the skit been? Like, could they even done a skit with that? Like, just have him standing there, just, you ever had a bad day at work? Ever been slapped by your pimp one too many times? Ring, ring. Yes, we've all been there before. And then we carry on. Like, it would have been funny as hell. But, again, we're going with the Italian version. So the Italian version is, he's a pimp. She is his lady of the night. She's in a lesbian relationship with a girl named Mary. And this guy won't stop calling her. But, let's proceed. We have the young, beautiful woman. She's beautiful, by the way. The actress who plays Rosie, beautiful. Oh my God, I fell in love with her. I'm not gonna lie. Out of all the women in all the stories, she was the one I fell in love with. I was just like, I do love a beautiful French girl. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I do love a beautiful French girl. But she comes into her little apartment, and as she's coming in, the phone's already ringing as soon as we get into the scene. Now, I love this imagery of the phone because the phone is fucking red. And I mean like red, like blood. Sorry, blood over there red. Like, that's some red-ass shit. I don't know why a woman has a red-ass phone, but that's her phone of choice. But she, gets into her house. The phone, of course, she doesn't get a chance to answer, so it stops ringing. She closes up, and she starts to proceed to, get ready for the night. And the phone rings again. And at this point, she's a little hesitant. She's like, well, who the hell is calling me? She seems annoyed. She goes over there, she picks it up, and the first thing out this man's mouth, it's fucking disgusting. I'm not even gonna lie, it's disgusting. Like, the things he says to this girl is disgusting. Because, again, let me paint a better picture for you. When she's getting ready for her night, and she goes to answer the phone this time, she's wearing nothing but a towel. So, when she picks up the phone, the creepy ass, I'm talking about creepy ass, like this man does, like he's trying to do a fucking ghost face impersonation, oh my God, it's creepy. He's just like, hello, Rosie. I'm going to sum this up the best I can, but he basically, because I don't want to say some of the shit he says, but he basically goes into detail about how hot she is, and about how he loves looking at her naked, and she should just disrobe now. kind of giving you an indication that he can fucking see her, especially when she gets uncomfortable and she's like holding the edge of the towel like by her thigh, and we get like this nice beauty shot of her holding the phone, and we zoom down like kind of over her body, you know, while she's on the phone, and we get to her thigh where she's holding the towel. And when he says, you know, oh, I love it when you're not wearing anything, she goes and kind of covers herself up. And he asks her, you know, why did you do that? Why did you cover yourself up? You know, I just want to see you. And she asks, but who are you? Like, who is this on the phone? Dude doesn't answer, hangs up the phone. She's a shaken now. Because again, he makes it very well aware to her and us as the audience that he can see her in full fucking detail. The fact that he knows she's wearing a towel, that she covered herself up, which means he's in one of these fucking windows or closets, or hell, he could be fucking Billy from Black Christmas hanging out in the attic space looking through a hole in the floor or something. I don't know. Actually, I do know. It turns out he's hiding behind a window. But, of course, she's a little freaked out about this, a little shaken up, and I don't blame her. I would be fucking shaken. So she starts turning on all these lights. She lights herself a cigarette. She starts puffing away. And as she's puffing away, she's slowly getting ready for bed. At this point, she's now taking off the towel. We don't see this, by the way, but she takes off her towel and puts on this. I think I've made mentions of this before, guys. But I'm a sucker for those old school Hollywood movie robes, those silk, beautiful, elongated robes that just makes me feel like a fabulous celebrity back in the day. Yeah, those. I love those. She's wearing one of those. And as she's like adjusting her pillow and about to pull down her covers, the phone rings again. And she gets up and she looks at it, and she's just kind of hesitant yet again, because at this point, now she's creeped out. She's like, should I answer it? Do I answer it? Would I answer it? Would I answer it? No. At that point, I would take the phone off the hook, throw it down on the ground, and say, whoops. Looks like I'm not being bothered for the rest of the night. Granted, though, I don't think that worked very well for people like Glenn in Nightmare on Elm Street. So, you know, it's about 50-50 either way you do it. The point is, I personally would just not answer that phone. But she goes to answer it, and his first fucking sentence out of his mouth is, why did you get dressed? You know I like it when you don't wear any clothes. You know I like it better when you have nothing on. Creepy. It's fucking creepy. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, this man's not even breaking a tone or a sweat. Just being fucking creepy. She asked him eventually in tears. She's like hysterical. Like, what do you want from me? Like having that moment from I Know What You Did Last Summer, instead of, you know, spinning around screaming, what do you want from me? She's just on the phone screaming and just, what do you want? And he says, everything. I want everything you have. But for now, I want you to undress. And I want to watch you with my eyes and embrace you with my eyes. And then he hangs up the phone. So again, adding the fact that he can still see her, he's still lunging around. That's something else that I don't think even crossed her mind until later on. Is the fact that if he can see her, which means he's just outside of her apartment somewhere, he's always constantly moving. So that means she's kind of screwed no matter what if she decided to do this shit alone. Like, straight up, no matter what. So at this point, she hangs, puts the phone down. She then goes to her door and takes like a napkin or something, a little handkerchief, and she stuffs the keyhole and makes sure no one can look through the keyhole. And as she's doing that, too further ahead. she goes and covers the keyhole, and she moves to the lamps, and instead of turning the lamps off, she's just moving them down, I guess to give more light and everything in the room, because she's freaking out. She then grabs something out of her drawer, and at first I didn't know what it was, but it turns out to be money and jewelry, I guess some important stuff to her, and she stuffs it underneath the sofa. And then she kind of sits in a fetal position on the sofa, staring at the phone. And it's on the edge of the sofa. And for a few minutes, she just stares at it, I guess contemplating whether or not to throw that bitch out the window. I don't know what she was doing. But eventually she stands up, she picks it up, and the moment her hand starts this fucking phone to, I guess, pick it up and move it, the phone ring scares her. She throws it down on the sofa, which, why not the floor? Why not the floor? Break the phone, no excuses. Like, he couldn't call at that point. Like, how can you make threatening phone calls if you have no phone? But, after she drops it, she goes to pick it up, but you can hear him go, Rosie, why did you hide your money? You always think money is the answer, and that's not going to help you right now. Nothing's going to help you. I want you and only you, and there's nothing that's going to stop me. So yeah, making it very obvious that this man has some dark intentions going on. She, again, not knowing who this is, she doesn't know this is Frankie at the time. She does not know, I guess she doesn't recognize her own pimp's voice, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I feel like if I hung around my pimp, if I had a pimp, if I ever was in that line of work, I had a pimp, I feel like I would know his voice, and that would actually scare the shit out of me. 'Cause some pimps aren't nice, man. Like, you ever see some of the parodies when it comes to pimps and their hoes? The fucking backhands and all that shit. Yeah, no, that would scare me. So I feel like I personally would recognize my pimp's voice, but maybe she done put it out of her head for so long she hasn't even thought about her pimp. But because she has no idea who the hell it is, she's begging to know, and she's crying, like she's fucking like tears streaming down her face. We get this like really, really creepy shot after her crying, like her hands burying her face. The camera slowly pans over to her window and then zooms in, and as we zoom in, we just see a pair of two eyeballs staring at her through the window. Just, hey, how's it going? Hey, some freaky ass shit. So as after we get done, having that creepy ass shot, a little message is slid underneath the door. So she goes over there to investigate, grabs it, opens it up, and it's a wanted poster of Frankie, of her pimp. And she's sitting there, and she balls it up. And once again, the fucking phone rings. I never thought I'd be scared of a ringing phone since The Ring. I'm not even gonna lie. The phone rings again. At this point, I'm screaming at the TV, just, bitch, why are you picking it up? Every time you pick it up, you know who it is. Okay, quit playing these mind games. Her friend Mary does the smart thing later on. But, as she picks up the phone, of course, it's the creepy guy. She's like, and he's just like, you are understanding it now, aren't you? I'm close to you. There is no escape. And she's just like, who are you? What the fuck do you want? Oh, you know who I am. And, of course, the flyer, what he's saying, what he's doing. She's just like, you can't be you. You're in jail. You're locked up. It can't be you. And then, of course, hangs up the phone. She then calls her girlfriend, Mary. And while they're chit-chatting, there's a little small conversation of just like, how do you know it's Frank? He's locked up. And she's just like, I just know he's saying these awful, nasty, vile things to me. Just terrible. And I agree. It's some horrible, there's some of the shit in here I just won't say, because he literally talks about how he wants to undress her with his eyes and how he likes looking at her naked body. Like, he says some pretty nasty shit. Granted, though, I don't feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for her. I feel so sorry for her. Like, seriously. There's something I noticed about this movie in particular after watching all three of these short stories. None of these have an actual happy ending. Like, they have melancholy endings, and you deserve that ending. There's no happy endings in any of these. This one I classify as a melancholy ending because, well, we'll get there when we get there. But as she's on the phone with Mary, and Mary's trying to calm her down, she begs Mary to come over to comfort her. She needs her. She's scared. So being the good gal pal she is, the lesbian lover she is, according to the Italian version of this movie, rushes right over. Of course, they have a bit of a drink. They chit chat. She's just like, how do you know? How do you know this is Frank? And she explains everything that he said to her. And something I forgot to mention, but after her initial phone call with Mary, Frank calls back yet again and tells her, why did you call Mary? You know, yeah, I liked her. He even makes mention about that. Just saying, his exact words were, she loved me. I gave her up for you. I gave her up for you. Like, dude, that's just creepy. But then he also proceeds to tell her, you'll be dead by dawn. Even more creepier. I'm sorry. Like, this guy, the actor again, who plays Frankie Milo, you, sir, have an impending voice that is just creepy as hell, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it shit shivers down my spine. Like, you know Ghostface, don't get me wrong. Like, Ghostface. His voice is... That man can read the fucking phone book to me. I wouldn't care. This guy, on the other hand, Milo, top-notch in creep factor. I really wish we got more screen time with him, to be honest. But what little presence he has on screen makes up for with all the phone calls. I'm not even gonna lie. The phone calls are just the bread and butter of this movie. Again, this is why this segment is called Telephone. So after he makes that idle threat of, you're going to be dead before dawn, Mary then comes over, they chit-chat, and she's just like, well, how do you know it's Frank? And she explains it has to be Frank because Frank knows I turned him in, which means I'm assuming anyway, she got tired of being bitch-slapped by her pimp, so she threw him into the authorities. Got his ass locked up. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know. They don't go into full details of why she turned him in or what exactly happened, but she turned him in. She's the reason he's been locked up. Mary then, after that, goes, so you think that's the reason why he wants to kill you? And she's like, yeah. So Mary gets up, goes over to the phone, takes the phone off the hook. The smartest person in this movie takes the phone off the hook and goes, there, now he can't call you. So why don't you get me a nightgown and I'll go fix us something to drink. And she walks off to the kitchen. And I was just like, okay, what is she doing here? Because she goes to the kitchen and pulls out a knife. At first I was like, oh, is this like a double betrayal thing? She's working with Frankie this whole time. Is she going to kill her? Nah, she was just looking out for her gal pal over there. She grabs the knife and walks over to her friend, and she's like, what are you doing? Safety, And it slides underneath her pillow, just letting her know, hey, it's going to be okay. I got you, boo-boo. I got you. So, after that, Rosie continues on to turn down the bed. And Mary's in the kitchen, and she's making a little something, a little tea, I'm assuming, and she's putting a little powder in there. And of course, Rosie comes in, and it's just like, what are you doing? What are you putting in there? She's like, oh, it's poison, my dear, poison. No, I'm kidding. It's a tranquilizer to help you sleep. She literally calls it a tranquilizer, too. I'm not even gonna lie. So, after we have a beautiful little moment between them, them just joking around about the tranquilizer and all that stuff. They get ready for bed, and the camera pans over the window, and we see this nice transition from dark to like this really nice saturated purple color. Really nice. They use a lot of purple in this movie. I'm not gonna lie, but I loved it. The saturation of purple was top notch. So we then cut to, I'm not gonna lie, that tranquilizer, whatever was in that tranquilizer, I want 2 of those in a doggy bag to go, because when we cut back to Rosie on her bed, she is sprawled out sideways, passed the fuck out. I'm just like, that's gotta be one hell of a drug. But Mary's sitting over there, writing away at a little writing desk, and she's, this is a little hard because according to the American version of this, she's writing a letter explaining why she tranquilized her, which didn't make any sense. I was just like, why are you writing a letter? Were you going to run off with her in the middle of the night? But in the Italian version of this movie, it makes more sense of her confessing to Mary about some kind of like how she has feelings for her, and that she was the one that called her as Frank one time. Again, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure the full, because again, I got some of the context through the short story summary, and then going, because again, guys, I watched the American version, then read it, then watched the Italian version. So, and unfortunately, the letter in the Italian version is in Italian, and there was no subtitles. I'm not gonna lie, the version I watched that was Italian was no subtitles. I had to use the American dialogue and sync it up with certain scenes for it to make sense to me. I'm not joking, guys. I'm really not. It was a bit of a pain to watch this movie because I had to use, at least the Italian version anyway. I had to use the American version to help sync up some of the audio so I can understand what the hell was going on. And I still couldn't understand what was going on in telephone because they changed the aspects. But, I want to say, though, I read something about her confessing about something. Not 100% sure. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research in that scene. But while she's riding away, Rosie's passed the fuck out. We get to the door, and we see the door slowly creak open, and the shadow of a figure appears. And then this figure slowly approaches Mary. And as he's approaching her, he grabs, looks like pantyhoses. I'm not gonna lie, looks like pantyhoses. He walks over to her, and as she's riding, he just comes up right behind. And this is like a slow, intense, like I'm surprised she didn't hear him breathing or something. Like my spidey senses would have been at full max capacity here. But he slowly creeps up beside her and then rips around, or takes the pantyhoses, rips it around her, wraps it around her throat, and starts strangling her so aggressively that even in the American version, they cut out a few seconds of how like, fuck, when I mean aggressive, I mean like he's yanking on that shit, like twisting it around, like slinging her around back and forth. She's like, doing that shit, and I'm just like, this is violent. Like, straight up, this is violent. Because, like I said, in the American version, some of this is cut, and some of this, like, literally just a few seconds is cut out because it's just so long and so agonizing to watch her be strangled to death. So eventually, we get through the long-ass strangulation scene. I'm not even gonna lie, it was a long-ass strangulation scene. Like, straight up, like, I just had to pause and go, that was just violent. That was just violent. But in the midst of this, apparently the tranquilizer was not as strong as I originally assumed. But she ends up waking up, and I guess she's so groggy by the tranquilizer, she's not quite comprehending what's going on. So she sits there and watches Frank basically strangle Mary, thinking it's Rosie. And once he figures out, he pulls her down and looks at her, and then looks at the bed where Rosie's at, and he just slowly starts walking through her while she's screaming, no, please, you can't be real, no, just stop, just, oh my God. And as he gets closer, she just grabs the knife from underneath the pillow and stabs his ass, just, cool, one good shot in the gut. Man falls back, gripping the fucking covers as he falls. And then we get this nice little pan over zoom of her with Frankie on the floor, all the way back to Mary's body, and we have this voiceover of Frankie going, Rosie, you can't kill me. I will always be here. I will always be watching you. I will always be calling you. And she screams. The end. This is why I call that a melancholy ending. Yeah, Frankie died. Frankie got what he deserved. Frank has some real fucking issues, and I'm glad he's going to be dealing with that in hell. But the fact that now, not only did her lover die in front of her, she now has to deal with this trauma for the rest of her life. The whole phone calls, the one night, because again, those phone calls were creepy enough to leave traumatic scars. Let's add the death of your lesbian lover on top of that. Oh God, it was, like I said, guys, that was just gruesome. Not even gruesome, just violent. It was really violent, and I can get why, especially in the 60s, they cut that down just a few scenes, because it went on for a minute. Like the man wanted to make sure she was dead, and even I was just like, is this gonna end? Like, seriously. Usually I don't mind violent scenes, but I forget that the Italian folks, they don't give a fuck. They really don't. Like, you want to see some violence? Here's some violence. Let's go back to, I want to say this is an Italian film. I could be wrong. But it's a horror movie told backwards. I can't remember the name of the movie, but the whole incident takes place backwards, where it's just like we start off with these two dudes. I guess it's been a long time since I've seen this movie, but it's like they start off about to kill somebody, and you go back, kind of reverse throughout the night to see what happens, and it ends where the story begins. And the story begins basically when a woman gets basically assaulted and raped in a tunnel by a group of guys, and that went on for a good minute. I'm not even gonna lie, it made me uncomfortable as fuck. I was just like, why do we need to sit there? I think even the actress herself was a little scarred from that scene. Like, it was just gruesome. It was, oh God. Again, Italian horror filmmaking. Love it though, love it, but gruesome and violent, but I love it. So after that, we then have, the American version. Boris comes back out, and he introduces the next story, and this one is the Vordlock episode. And he comes out and explains that the next story is going to be about vampires. And we all know the lore about vampires. You know, they don't like the sunlight, they don't like mirrors. But something we can all agree on is that they drink blood. But Vordlocks only drink blood of the ones they love. And we cut over to the next scene, which is the start of the story. And it starts off with a man, Vladimir, on a horse, doing this thing. He's having a good day. Having a great day, actually. I'm not going to lie. The man seemed like he was having a great day, just on his fucking horse. And he sees another horse with a body on it. So he goes to investigate. And when he gets to the horse... No way, I take that back. That particular scene was cut and used later on in the movie. He does find the body of a guy next to a horse, though. I'm not going to lie. He does find the body of a guy next to this horse, and he goes to investigate, and the head is gone. It's decapitated. It's no longer there. Freaks him out. He goes to bag up, and there's conveniently a dagger sticking out of the chest of this decapitated body. So this man, for some fucked up reason, grabs it and goes, well, I got an adventure to go on. Gets on his horse, rides the fuck off, right? Rides off. Now, originally, I just thought this was like some random inn, because the fact that this particular story takes place in the 19th century. So I originally thought this was like an inn or something. No, it's just some dude's house. Just some random dude's house. But he puts his horse up, walks into this man's house, uninvited, like straight up uninvited, and as he walks in, he's looking at all the weapons and sees the outline of another, what is the dagger he has in his hand. So he goes to like compare, like, hey, is this the same dagger? And as he says that, you hear, "Where did you get this dagger at?" Come from behind him, and there's a guy with a gun. And you know what the first fucking thing out Vladimir's mouth is? "Nice welcome. Do you greet everybody like this?" First of all, Vladimir, you walked into his house, okay? You walked into his house uninvited. You not only walked into his house uninvited, but now you have a piece of his property. Okay? Not only did you walk into his house uninvited with a piece of his property, you're gonna insult the man by saying, "Is this how you greet all your people?" Hey, bro, you came into his domain. And that's one of my problems with this one. But again, once I get done with all the stories, I'll go over what I liked and didn't like about each story. So, after that, it's explained, they get a little bit of introduction. Oh, hi, hang on a second. Again, some of these characters, I think it was Gregor. It was either Gregor or Petro. One of them two. I don't know. It was one of the brothers. But they introduce themselves. He explains to him that the dagger belonged to his dad, and that his dad left off a few days ago and hasn't come back yet. And he's like, "Well, show me this body that you found," because apparently he brought the body of the decapitated head with him. So as they go out to leave, these two beautiful women come down the stairs and look around. One is the Sandanika. I'm gonna call her that, Sandanika. And the other one is Maria. Maria is married, I think, to Pedro, and she's got a kid. I think it's Pedro. It could be this one. I'm not sure. Actually, no. It could be because one brother has brown hair and the other one has blonde hair. That's how I could tell them apart. One was blonde, one was brown. And the same thing with the sisters. One was brown, one was blonde. And also one was crazy, and one was written like a Disney princess. I'm not even going to lie. So as they're going to investigate, they get to the horse, and they're like, "Where the fuck is the body? Where did it go?" And then we see the brother, I'm going to say Pedro. Pedro's the one stabbing him. Stabs the corpse, and he's just like, "My friend, if you're the one that killed this guy, I commend you. He is a bandit that's been trashing this area, and I'm glad he's been stopped." And he's just like, No, I didn't kill him. I just found him like that. But apparently he's a Turkish bandit. And his name, what was his name? It started with an Avicon, or something like that. But after we see, Pedro kill or stab the body, we go back to the house, and they explain to Vladimir that their dad said that he was going up to the mountains for 4 days, that if he didn't come back on the 5th day, after a certain time, do not let him into this house, do not invite him in, do not talk to him, something's not right, basically kill him, maim him, send him on fire, call it a day. I'm going to tell you, they did none of these things. Just straight up, none of these things. So, why they're having this discussion, though, Vladimir replies was, "Well, the bandit's dead, so you got nothing to fear, really. So, why don't you go find your dad?" And one of the brothers goes, "Well, we do have something to fear. Our father." And then, as everyone's kind of uncomfortable with the situation. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of awkward staring in this one in particular. I think it's because they're supposed to be uncomfortable. The fact that their father was supposed to come back at a certain day. Well, it's past that certain day and past that certain time, and bad things are out there. They know it. They just can't explain it. So of course they're oddly staring at each other. But after some of the awkward stare contests, the brother looks at Vladimir and goes, "Hey, you probably should leave after 10 o'clock, per se, because if not, if dad shows up after 10 o'clock, yeah, this ain't gonna be good, man. Like, this ain't gonna be good. And the guy's just like, whatever, I'll stay the night. We literally cut to this next scene. Now, I'm going to add something real quick before we cut to the next scene. So, Sendanika, the girl he likes, right? Yeah, he likes her. Oh, no, he doesn't just like her. No, he don't just like her. No, he is madly in love with her. But let me set this up real quick. He has one conversation with her. Just, who are you? Oh, I'm Danica. I'm, the sister. Oh, well, that's a unique and pretty name. So, Pedro, tell me more about what's going on. That's literally it. I'm not even joking. She introduces herself to him. He said, that's a pretty name, smiles, and it continues on the conversation with the brother. The next scene, I shit you not, the next scene, he is following her to this room they have set up, and she's just like, why are you staying? You should leave. It's not safe for you. And he goes, honestly, I'm staying for you because I'm in love with you. Like, motherfucker, like, you just met her within an hour. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Y'all like to make fun of Disney princesses? Let me not say y'all. We're all in this together, because I make fun of the Disney princesses too as well. But we all make fun of the fact that they fall in love within one song, maybe two songs. Maybe they only hang out for a couple of days. Like we all know about the joke about Cinderella falling in love within one dance. She had more interactions with her Prince Charming than this man had with this woman, and he was confessing love to her. He's a Disney princess. That's simply it. He's a Disney. Vladimir, he ain't no count. He's Princess Vladimir. Because this man fell head over heels for this woman. And I get why they wrote him like this, because the whole story is about the vampires who only bite the ones they love. And we'll get to the ending when we get there, but it's for the ending. It's literally for the ending. It's for the shock value ending. Which really ain't shock value, especially after I say a lot of these stories either in melancholy or you deserve that. So I literally wrote down, though, that this man is thinking with his dick. Because literally, that's the only reason I can think of why he's confessing his undying love to this girl, even though he's only met her for like an hour. Like, not even an hour, I want to say. Like, not even a full conversation in the hour. Just maybe that's like falling in love after seeing somebody because they glanced across at you at a bar. You know those creepy guys I'm always joking about? Yeah, he's one of them. He's that creepy guy. So, she tells him, well, no, you can't stay for me. You have to leave. And he's like, why are you scared of your father? What's going to happen? And she doesn't answer. So he's like, well, what exactly did your dad say before he left that's got y'all so scared? And she reiterates about the 4 days thing. That if he doesn't return after the 5th day at a certain time, which is 10 o'clock, to not let him in. To stake him. Because he is a Vorlach. So as the time is progressing, we get through that hour. The 10 o'clock chime bell rings and there's still no papa anywhere. So they're all like, oh shit, this ain't good. Because when you know, 10:05, guess what we see walking up these fucking crickety ass pathway? No, other than our buddy Boris. God, no. None other than our buddy, our fucking grandpa, our fucking favorite grandpa in this whole movie, Boris Karloff over here. He looks good. I'm not gonna lie. He looks good in this movie. When we see him in this movie, I call him Grandpa Magic because this man just throughout this movie just gets deader and deader. Like when we first see him, he's got like this fluffy wool ass jacket on covering his head up. He's ungroomed beard, ungroomed hair. He's got a fucking stab wound in his chest that look like his shirt's covered in blood. And he's limping. And he don't look good, man. He don't look good, but he looks good at the same time, you know what I mean? But he comes stumbling out, and of course the dog's barking and howling like a son of a bitch. Just, arr, arr, and this goes on for a minute, by the way. And for some fucked up reason, everybody decides to meet this man outside, even though he specifically requested, after 10 o'clock, if I show up on the 5th day, after 10, don't meet me, just stake me, and yet they all just sit there and stare at him. As he walks up, he's just like, so no one's going to greet me? No one's going to welcome their father back? Like, my own dog doesn't even recognize me. What is wrong with y'all? And nobody says anything. Everybody's just like, the fuck do we do? And of course, Vladimir's just like, sir, you look like you've been stabbed. How about I'm fine. I'm just hungry. And so they invite him in. Not even joking. They invite him in. The dog's still howling in the background, going off, howling at the moon. And the dad's talking to the Vladimir. And as they're chit-chatting about, what happened, where he went, all this stuff, one of the daughters brings him a roast. And she's like, well, Dad, you're hungry, right? And he looks at it and he's like, what is it? It's a roast. I don't want that. I'm not hungry. I'm cold. I'm real cold. And then again, everyone's just like, okay, Dad's losing his marbles. And as this dog's howling, the man gets more and more aggressive on his face. And you see it, and he's visibly upset. So he stands up, and he shouts, someone go kill that dog now. Someone go kill him. And everyone kind of looks at him like, Dad's for real? Like, that's your dog? And he's like, hey, I didn't, no, his exact words were, shut him up, I give no orders twice. Shut him up, I give no orders twice. Hands the son a gun. The son looks at the gun, looks at his dad, and goes, but Dad, that's your favorite dog. Like, the hell? And he's like, just go ahead, kill him. Kill him now. God, like, fucking Dark Sidious over here. Just, good, Anakin, good. Kill him. But it's not the Jedi Council way. Just do it. Just kill him now. Do it. That's literally what it was. So the son goes out there to go kill the dog. And while the son's out there, the grandpa gets up and goes, oh, let me see my grandson, please. And he touches him, and of course, the dog's just like, hey, this ain't cool. And he's just like, what, you gonna deny me the ability to love on my grandson? And he takes the child anyway, and he goes over to the fireplace, and he sits down, and he's talking to him, and he's kissing all over him. Then we hear the boom, and the howling of the dog ceased to exist. I'm not joking. Thank God the Italians do have a little bit of class and didn't show that scene. I appreciate that. But it still was pretty gruesome to hear. I'm not going to lie. It was still pretty gruesome to hear. So after that, the son comes back in, sees Grandpa being creepy with the kid. So he's just like, Dad, yeah, so son is tired. Grabs the son. Honey, why don't you take him to bed? And she quickly grabs him and runs the fuck off. Vladimir sits down. Oh, and the guy's name is Alvik. Alvik. That's the name of the Turkish hunter. I have it right here. I knew I wrote it down somewhere. But as they're chit-chatting about the body he found, the decapitated body with the dagger stuck into it, and that it was his dagger, he was just like, how do you know it was Alvik? How did you know he's dead? Well, his head was gone. He was staked in the heart. You know what? I actually have proof. So Grandpa leans over, grabs this bag. Now, again, in the Italian version of this movie, we see the full, beautiful, beautiful prosthetic hair. I'm not gonna lie. the practical effects they used in 63 in this movie were beautiful. Granted, a little gimmicky because the face is a little pluff, but it still looked nice. It still looked wonderful. But Grandpa grabs the head and he's like, yeah, I have his head right here. And everyone's just like, oh my god, that could be why the dogs were howling. Yeah, sure. Blame the decapitated head, the fact that the dog smelled blood. Yeah, that's the reason the dog was howling. Not because we know the lore that dogs don't like vampires. Most animals don't like vampires. But after he takes the head, right? He then says, hang it by the door for the world to see, and then throws the head. It like straight up just chunks it. Just, I'm tired of this shit kind of chunk. So then we literally cut to the head being hung outside. Like seriously, he's just flapping in the wind and shit. Like it's some great ass shit. So then everyone's going down for bed at this point. And while we're watching Vladimir sleep, we hear outside the door about everyone freaking out that Grandpa's back. And they're just like, what do we do? You know, do we stay watch? Do we do this? Do we do that? And they're like, I don't know. You're tired. I'll stay watch. You go to bed. You know, basically, not bickering, but like changing, you know, the rotation here. The rotation of whoever's watching the halls at night or whatever. Well, while that's going on, we just see Grandpa somehow magically come in. Like, seriously, like, this man is quick as fuck. I'm not even gonna lie. This man literally comes in through this door, stares at Vladimir, leans in. Poor Vladimir's having a nightmare or something because he senses trouble, and he wakes up, and of course, you know, Grandpa is gone. He's looking around like, the hell? And then we look out the window. There's Grandpa just standing there. Just, hi, how's it going? Creepily walks into the house. Fucking Pedro's in a chair, passed out on the table. Grandpa sneaks past all these people. Not really all these people, it's just Pedro down there. But he sneaks past Pedro, goes all the way upstairs into the grandson's room where his daughter and the son-in-law are sleeping. Grabs the grandchild and just walks out the fucking house. Vladimir sees this shit and proceeds to bang on the door and tell, you know, somebody, hey, he's running off with your kid. You might want to go get him. So there's this decent chase. I'm not gonna lie, it's a really good chase through the woods. Unfortunately, though, the kid didn't make it. I'm just gonna say that right off the bat. The kid didn't make it. Granted, nobody makes it in this movie, but the kid didn't make it. But why, you know, the one son runs off. Funny enough, because I didn't know Vladimir at the time, because again, they don't really say their names too terribly often in the movie, like straight up. So I didn't know his name was Vladimir until like the end of the movie, where she's like, Count Vladimir, stay with me, I love you. And I was just like, oh, his name's Vladimir, okay. But yeah, I have him written down as Rando. Random stranger. But Vladimir, you know, eventually comes down because originally he's locked in this room for some fucked up reason. I don't know why they locked him in. Like, that's gonna do anything. But he gets downstairs and he goes to wake Pedro up. Pedro's been bitten. He dead. Dead. Like, real dead. But after we see the nice epic chase through the woods on a horseback, like I'm not gonna lie, it was a little gimmicky to watch the chase in some aspects because you know it's not a real horse. You know he's not really running through the forest. It's one of those rather obvious running through a fake forest track. But there's a little fun tidbit. In the Italian version of this movie, when it ends, we get to see how this scene was done. And Boris is sitting on an animatronic half horse. And if y'all don't know what I mean by half horse, I mean only like the top half of the horse is completely like decked out like a horse, and the rest of it is just like uncovered animatronic parts. Famously, a lot of horses like that were used for like Sleepy Hollow, stuff like that, when, you know, horses got to do like certain jumps and maneuvers and stuff that an actual horse can't do. So, and also, it's a lot easier to use an animatronic horse than try to ring in live action horses, to be honest. But that's working with any kind of animals in movies. But yeah, you see Boris on the fucking horse, and the camera's sitting there, and you just see like I was gonna say about 3 or 4 people, all with little trees, right? And the crowd's down, so they're not seen, but the little trees they have are seen through the camera, and they're just spinning around the camera to get the running effect. As the horse is just galloping, and there's just smoke. It's great. I didn't need to know how that scene was done, but I'm glad they did that at the end of the movie. I had no idea what the hell they were saying, because I couldn't find the translation to it, because that's not in the English version. But it was just great to see that. Like, I just died laughing. So, after the big chase, we go back to the randos. This scene, just this one, I was just like, why did you write these characters? I get it, they're trying to set up the ending here, but come the fuck on, they just met like 2 hours ago, but she's over there like, you think they're gonna come back? Are you leaving now? Are you gonna leave me too? No, I'll be right here. Oh, I just don't know what I would do. This is just a nightmare. Run away with me. Run away. You can be free to be loved by me and to find happiness. All we gotta do is just want it. I swear to God, these are actual dialogues, people. This is actual dialogue. But he's just like, all we gotta do is want it. I love you. I have loved you. That just straight up, just I loved you. Just. I get love at first sight, and I have serious issues with this writing here. I'm not even joking. I have serious issues with it. I get it, the point of it, but this scene's extremely fucking forced for this particular short story, and it just aggravates the fuck out of me, because I love Boris Karloff. I do. I think he did a great job, especially with the makeup effect. As each time we see him, he gets more and more deader. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, he first has like a scruffy face, and then as we see him, they paint his face white and like sunken in his eyes a little bit and kind of darken it in. Oh my god. But I couldn't take Vladimir and this woman's relationship very fucking serious. I really couldn't, because, you know, he's all talking about love and happiness. She's like, I just don't know if I could ever actually have that, you know. That just seems like a faraway dream. Like, bitch, this is a horror movie. Why are you having a stupid love moment? But he's trying to comfort her, so they cuddle in a little bit, you know, he kisses her hand, he strokes her hair, and then you hear these cries, and we look out the window, and of course they have the body of the boy. You know, unfortunately he didn't make it, and we then cut down to downstairs, and we got Pedro's body covered up, and the mom's crying over the son, and the husband's just like, honey, I gotta stake him, okay? I gotta stake him. I did this for Pedro. I gotta stake him. And she's just like, no, you can't stake him. You can't. Like, woman, what? Like, I swear, I would have bitch slapped her, like, backhand, too, like the pimp in the last story, just right outside the fucking head, because damn it, man, you know what's about to come. You know what's about to happen, but yeah, oh, don't stake my son. Like, bitch, he gonna kill you. He gonna fucking kill you. Plot twist, it's not him that kills her. It's Grandpa. But after, you know, her little cries and pleads, and the husband's like, I'm still gonna do it, she just goes, no, and it gets up, grabs the knife, sticks it to her throat, and just like, if you kill him, I'll kill myself. And of course, the husband's like, I already lost a son, I'm not about to, fuck it, let's just bury him. That'll make you happy, let's just bury him. So, like, they watch Pet Sematary together, clearly, and they go and bury him out back. We then go to, fucking Vladimir sneaking out of the house with the beautiful blonde that he's absolutely infatuated with. And they go running off out into the darkness. We cut back to the couple sleeping, and they hear crying coming from the window. And of course, mom hears this, and she makes the husband go investigate, and he sees his dead son. He's the smart one of the bunch, going, "It's nothing, baby, it's the wind, don't look at it." No, and she's like, "It's my boy, I must go answer the door, I must go get him." And he's just like, no, that's not your son, that's not our son. He's dead, we buried him. Think about this. He died, we buried him. He shouldn't be standing out there, but whoop, there he is, boy. There he the fucking is, so let's just ignore him. She don't take this very well. Okay, so she goes, okay, and stabs him. Straight up, just stabs her husband. You're in my way. Stabs him. Poor guy bleeds out. Crumbles to the floor. She runs down the stairs, opens the door, expecting to embrace her son, and it's fucking grandpa there looking creepy as hell. Again, Boris, amazing job, my dude. Amazing job just standing there and looking creepy. I'm not even joking. You, sir, top notch. Top fucking notch. But as he moves closer to her, of course, we have the dramatic, like, old school screen cream moment where she's like, no, and he screams as he covers the camera with his cape and shit. So, once that ends up happening, thank God man was sitting with his dick dough, so he bought himself at least 5 extra minutes of time. We go and follow them to this old, I guess, ruined building or something. I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to be. There's skeletons in there for some fucked up reason. They decide this is a good place to hang out for the night. Let shit blow over at home. But while they're doing this, of course, Grandpa knows all about this shit. So he's on his way. But while they're getting ready to the fucking, get ready for bed, looking through the rooms like, oh, wait, that looks like a good bed. Oh, no, that one's got a skeleton in it. Oh, that one's got cobwebs. Oh, look, here's one. Pushes off, hey, here's a bed for you. I will say, though, Vladimir is quite the gentleman. He cleans off a bed and he ends up sleeping on the floor next to her, like straight up. True fucking gentleman right there. Confesses his undying love to her, still won't sleep in the same bed with her. That's a real man. That's a real man. A real man with problems. I can't. I'm sorry. I couldn't take their relationship serious at all. Like, I wanted to. I tried. I couldn't. I just fucking couldn't. I was like, he's a Disney princess all through and through. But of course she's upset because she knows the truth about the vampires and shit. She knows what's going on with her family. And so she starts crying. And his exact words to her is, you can't let this stay over your head forever. You have to learn to let go and move on so you can have happiness. Happiness with me because I love you. Don't cry. Basically telling this woman to get the fuck over the fact that her entire family got murdered by their dead grandpa. Just, no, get over it, honey. I love you. My love is enough to heal your wounds. I'm glad that this was a short story, not a feature-length. But maybe, actually, you know what? Maybe if this was like an actual feature-length film, maybe we could have had some more character development, and their love would have made more sense. Actually, to be perfectly honest, we could have had like a couple of days of them getting to know each other. Maybe have a musical number together. Would have been nice. Would have been real nice. And don't tell me there can't be no horror musical, because that's actually a thing. And one of these days, I will talk about some of these horror musicals. Because one of my favorites is Repo the Generic Opera. I love that one. Sarah Brightman in that, so beautiful. Oh my God. And fucking Anthony. And we all know Anthony, and if you don't know who I'm talking about, he plays Giles off Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And he is a fabulous singer. I'm not gonna lie. Fabulous. And also, didn't even realize this because he looks completely different. Fuck, what's the actor's name? I was just talking about him the other day because we were watching House of a Thousand Corpses. Fuck. I cannot think of it. I feel bad about this now. I do not think, and we were just talking, me and Eric were just talking about this actor. He plays Chop Top, though, in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Good actor, fantastic singer. Apparently, he plays Luigi. I've been watching this movie for like, I don't know how many years. I didn't even know that was him, because he looks completely different from any of his other roles watching him in that movie. But I'll talk about that at some point, too. Like, I really do like that movie. But, yeah, so after, I digress so much, I lost my place. So, yeah, Grandpa ends up following them, and while they're sleeping, she wakes up, and she hears Grandpa go, "Why did you leave? Father, I beg of you, please, leave me alone. Have mercy. I love him." No one can love you like we do. And then her whole family of vampires show up, asking, "Why did you leave us? Why did you leave us?" Like, and it's like a slow pan to each one of their faces, repeating over and over again, "Why did you leave us?" And it's actually very creepy. I'm not gonna lie, it's very creepy. But eventually, Romeo wakes up and realizes his Juliet is gone. So he gets up, starts searching around. I guess comes to the conclusion she's not there anymore, runs back to the house, or let me phrase that, gets on his horse and gallops back to the house. And once in there, he sees nobody, he sees her clothes, he sees a candle that's lit, but nobody's around, so he goes to her bedroom and rips back the curtain and there she is, just, oh. She's holding her neck, like something's done happened, but she's not showing him. She's doing that thing, just, "Oh, I didn't hear you come in," that kind of bullshit. But as we see her sitting there on the bed, she was like, "I wanted to be yours, but I couldn't. I tried." And he asked, "Why did you leave? We could have had something." And she's like, "No, just go ahead and escape while you still can." And of course, Loverboy over here is like, "No, never. I would die before I lose you again." Motherfucker, again, looking at my watch, it seems like it's only been like 4 hours, maybe 5 at the most. And you're talking about death? I would die for you? Like, no. Just no, Disney princess, no. Stop it. Get some help. So... Of course, she's a fucking vampire. It's rather obvious she's a vampire, but we're still holding off that she might be normal-ish. And as soon as he's like, "I would die for you," she's like, "Embrace me. I want you forever. Blend your kisses with mine. Embrace me." And opens her eyes, and you see the vampire, I guess, dizzy stare or something. The "come to me, child" stare that even Dracula himself mastered at a very young age. That one. So as he leans in, he kisses her. So beautiful, so powerful. And then, of course, he bites her. Or she bites him. She bites him. And while she's biting him, her entire family is standing outside the window watching this shit, going, "Welcome, new brother-in-law." Grandpa's just like, "I have a new son-in-law now. Replace Pedro. I mean, I like my kid, but this kid's nice." Well, yeah, that's how that story ends. And like I said, I'll get to my likes and dislikes at the end of this video. So, again, let's cut back to the American version for a second. We got Boris coming back in and goes, "Do you believe in ghosts?" "Oh, you don't? You must say something always frightens us. You have to say that. You can't deny this." And what's really cool about this particular one, like the telephone one, where it was kind of like an Alfred Hitchcock thing, he's standing above like a puddle, and it starts off with a drop of water dropping into the puddle, and you have ripples effects while he's standing there. But he proceeds to say, "A drop of water can prove a ghost don't have to be seen to be believed." Which, I like that one. Out of all the intros that he did for these movies, I liked that one. That was like one of my personal favorites. Granted, I will say, A Drop of Water is my second favorite out of the bunch because of the fact that it was the one that intrigued me the most to watch this movie. Because, again, all this started because I watched 101 Scary Movie Moments. This particular story was mentioned in 101 Scary Movie Moments, and it's the end scene is why it made the list. And why I got interested and go, hot diggity damn, I'm going to watch this movie. But I like the whole aspect of, do you believe in ghosts? Oh, you don't? Well, something always scares you. Like, you don't have to believe in ghosts for them not to be there. Like, think about that. You may not believe in those ghosts, but those ghosts believe in you. Remember that. Just remember that next time you look into a dark corner. You may not believe that demon's standing there, but that demon believes in you sitting right there. Don't sleep well tonight after that. But we move on to one of my favorite stories, A Drop of Water. Now this one is one of the more shorter ones out of the bunch. This one's a lot more visual aspects. Like this one, top notch when it comes to visual, okay? The creepy dead body, the fucking John Norman's ass house that reminds me of a cat lady's house that died rich. The fact that it's told right off the bat not to fuck with this shit, and this woman does it anyway. Like, I love the lighting, the sound effects. Like, this one actually might be, I know now it's kind of a tie if I think about it between Telephone. And you know, I actually might bring this one up above Telephone just by 1 point. And I say that because, again, Telephone was a little hard to translate, especially with the fact that the American version changed some aspects to the Italian version. So, you watch both versions, you'll get kind of the same story, but a different take on it. Because of the fact that they changed the lover situation of her being in love with a woman, and the fact that he was a pimp and not a ghost. So, if I think about it, Dark Water, or not Dark Water, god damn it, where the hell's my brain at? A Drop of Water, hands down, it's gotta be the good one. But let's dive into it. So, we got this woman, and this beautiful woman, beautiful little, probably mid-30s woman, walking around. She's having a decent night. You know, it's raining. She's looking at the rain. She's having a good time. She's trying to warm up. She plays a little vinyl. She starts by pouring herself a drink, and I guess she's about to do some sewing or some bullshit. I'm not quite sure what she's about to do. But right before she gets comfy, she gets a phone call. So her being aggressive decides, I'm going to answer this phone call. She walks over there, and of course she's yelling on the phone like, hello, who the hell is this? Hello. And whoever's on the phone, which we find out is the maid of the old woman that died, is saying, hey, I need you to come over. I know it's late. I know it's raining, but she died, and we need to get her ready for the viewing, wake, whatever, the burial, whatever what's supposed to happen the next day. So after a few minutes of arguing back and forth, because she's like, why can't this wait till in the morning? And I agree 100%. It's the middle of the night. I don't think that body's going anywhere. Like, to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't think that body's going anywhere. But whoop-de-fucking-do, we're in a hurry, apparently. Which I don't get, because according to the maid, the woman had no friends. Nobody was around when she died, because people were scared of her. But we'll get there when we get there. So we cut to the lady's house. Now, this house is enormous. I'm not gonna lie, like, it's enormous, and the fact that they add the purplish red colors that the Italian filmmakers love to use spread out all throughout this house, it's just gorgeous. And the fact she's got like 30 cats just walking around. I'm like, you know what, that could actually explain why we need to do this ASAP, because cats are hungry motherfuckers, and if you die, and it's straight up, guys, like, being straight up when it comes to cats, they will love you until the end of your life, and if you happen to die in front of them, they will eat your corpse. I don't know why. I don't understand it. That's just something cats do. They eat corpse. That's happened plenty of times, like, throughout, oh god, at least the last 20, 30 years, it's happened at least 14 times that I know of. Especially when it comes to old women having heart attacks, breaking a hip or something, they end up dying, or injured to the point that they can't reach the phone, and all their cats do is lick their faces. Yeah, that ain't a good sign. So maybe that's the whole reason for the rushing. But as the maid ushers the woman in, and she's closing the door, she tells her, this way, but don't touch nothing of hers. She said there will be a curse on anyone who does. And I believe her. She has such strange powers, such strong powers, especially being a medium. First of all, I'm like, okay, we just established the entire premise right there. Don't touch anything. And what's this woman do? She starts touching shit. I don't get her motive of why she wants to touch the shit, but she starts touching shit. And it's not necessarily because she touched the shit, it's more the fact that she stole something from this woman. But before we get to there though, let's continue on after the warning. She takes her to the woman, and this is what I love the most. This frame right here was the reason why I chose this movie to talk about. So she walks into the bedroom, and the woman is, the dead woman anyways, is in the bed. She apparently died sometime during the night in her bed. So when we pull back the curtains to see this woman, she has this half crooked ass smile on her face, and her eyes are just bulging out of her head, and she's got this demonic stare into the abyss of nothingness and my dark soul staring at you. I'm not even joking. It is creepy. I don't know if they use what kind of practical effects they used for this mask, what they did to get this look, but it top-notch freaky shit. I'm not gonna lie. So we see this toothy ass grin, and the woman, she's not even really fazed by this shit. She's like, oh, well, we gotta go get her dress. So take me to her dress. We go to over to the another room where we have the dress laid out and shit. And there's like this weird moment with this fucking lamp. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if it was a joke, if this was just accidental, or if this was really written into this scene. But there's literally a lamp that just slowly slides down. The maid comes in and goes, oh, stupid lamp, and then like has to pull it back off. I don't get it, but there's a lamp. Oh god, my camera came out of focus. Hang on, there we go. I don't know what happened there. But as they're getting, her affections and stuff, the lamp back up, she's grabbing her dress. She proceeds to tell the woman she died alone because everybody was scared. They believe the ghost killed her. According to everybody, she died of a heart attack, though the other woman tries to argue. And the maid's just like, no. It wasn't no heart attack. She died in a seance during a trance. First of all, I wouldn't be near the body if somebody I knew died during a seance while they were communicating with a ghost. Because now at that point, the body is freshly available for anything to come through. So I'm not touching it. But here's the kicker. Apparently this woman, every Friday night, this is how she spent her Fridays, she did a seance. No wonder she was a strong-ass medium. She's just practicing that shit every Friday. Just, alright, let's get the Ouija board out, get the tarot cards out, because we see tarot cards at one point. And for some reason, there's a lot of fucking baby dolls just everywhere. Like, I'm talking about, like, on the dressers, in the dressers, on the bed, like, on the floor. This guy, like, everywhere. I haven't seen that many baby dolls since that fucking place in Mexico that has all the baby doll heads hanging from the trees and shit. I can't think of what it's called. But, goddamn, a lot of baby dolls. But, after that conversation, we grab the dress, we go inside, and we see her trying to, get the body dressed up and shit. And we got this really interesting close-in zoom shot of the maid sitting there, kind of clumping her hands together. She's really sweaty, really nervous, too. And she's praying. She is praying to herself. Like, I don't know what... I want to know what the hell she's seen that night, because she seems spooked as fuck. I don't know if it is just the fact that she works for this crazy lady who just died, so she just doesn't want to be there, or she saw something that night, because you gotta remember, guys, it's a dark and stormy night in this story. So, yeah, anything could have happened. I feel sorry for this maid, but I love this maid at the same time, because of, because of this fucking line. So as they're getting her dressed, the woman looks at the maid and goes, "So, are you staying here tonight?" And without missing the beat, the maid's like, "Nope, I am leaving with you. I am not staying here. It's not my problem anymore. I'm gonna let the coroners handle it later. Just not, And she walks out the room. So then we cut back to Helen, the woman, not standing there, but sitting there adjusting the woman. You know, she told the maid to go get her some shoes while she was out in the hallway. And for some reason, she sees this saffron ring. I'm talking about, this is a beautiful ass ring, by the way. Beautiful ass ring. On her finger. So for some fucked up reason, she takes that as an invitation to just help herself. So she grabs the ring, she proceeds to try to pull it, and she's struggling a little bit. And of course, the body's just staring at her, just as she's pulling. And she pulls so hard that the ring just flies off into the abyss, onto the floor. And when she jumps down to go, try to look for it and shit, the hand from the corpse bumps her in the back of the head, scares the shit out of her, and she knocks into the dresser, dropping a glass of water, which starts this dripping noise. Which, again, the whole point of this story, a drop of water. So after they end up, she ends up searching for the ring and everything. She finds it. And the maid's like, "Hey, is everything okay in there?" "Yeah, everything's great. Fine. Wonderful. Nothing to worry about." Gets up, moves the hand, looks at the ring, sticks it in her bosoms, adjusts her hands so no one knows the ring's mission, cleans up a little bit. They get the shoes, put the shoes on and everything. And while in the process of dressing her, at one point, Helen closes the corpse's eyes, just so we don't have to see that bulging eyeball look coming from her. No big deal. So after she gets done doing her shoes, she straightens up her dress, looks up at her, and her eyes are back open, staring at her. And she's like, it's like, "Oh my God." And the maid's like, "Are you all right?" "Yeah, no, fine. We're great. We're fun. It's wonderful. Let's get the fuck out of here." So they proceed to the straight up dip out. Oh yeah, one other thing I forgot to mention before she dipped out. One of the creepier aspects, after she stole the ring and adjusted the hands, a random fly, comes out of nowhere and lands directly on the corpse's hand. So she tries to swat it away and shit, and it's a violent fly, by the way, very violent fly. He just won't leave her alone. And eventually she gets the fly away and shit, but remember that for later. Because when she comes back home, shit hits the fan. So she comes home, she opens up the door, she walks on through, she gets everything ready back in the night, go back into her cozy little routine. She puts the ring on though, she's looking at it, and she's just like, "Oh, this is nice." Well, wouldn't you know, here comes that fucking fly. Lands on her hand. For some reason, she freaks out. I'm talking about imagine throwing a snake on me. That was her reaction right there, just thrashing around, about to throw herself out a window because she sees this fly. And after she calms down a little bit, she sits down, she's rubbing her face, and she starts hearing this dripping sound, just drip, drip, drip. So she goes to investigate, goes to this room, looks in there, and it's her fucking kitchen sink just dripping away. So she, turns it off, continues to hear the dripping noise, and goes, "Okay." Goes on to the next room, opens up the door. It's her bathtub dripping, so she turns that one off. So she then goes into the living room, still hears the dripping. It's her fucking umbrella. So she shakes it off, no big deal. So the shit's getting to her now. So she sits down again, try to collect herself. And then we hear this knocking sound coming from the next room. And then there's like this creepy ass moaning, screaming noise as the door opens. And of course she gets up and she's like, who are you? You know, what do you want? Like, first of all, lady, the maid warned you in advance about all this bullshit? About the fucking don't touch your shit or else kind of bullshit? So why is she asking these damn questions? I don't know. But she goes to investigate. Of course, as soon as she opens the door, there's nothing there but the window just hitting the side of the wall. She closes it, quickly goes back outside, locks the door, tries to calm down again. She then hears the moaning, screaming sound again coming from another room, so she goes to investigate. As soon as she opens the door, guess who's in the fucking bed? It's the creepy lady. She's just sitting there, and of course the woman screams, freaks out, backs up, and then the corpse proceeds to stand up and try to walk towards her. So she runs out the room, leans up against a door frame trying to catch her breath. The hand comes up behind her, scares her even more. She hits the ground. This woman, still with the same fucking creepy ass grin, bug-eyed look on her face, is just slowly floating to her with her hands extended out like she's about to choke her. Now, something I found interesting about this part is you think it's the ghost trying to choke her, but if you watch the actress playing Helen, it's like she's fighting the urge to choke herself out. Like, as weird as that sound, you see like her hand come up on her throat, and she takes her other hand like she's fighting her own hand. It's like the Adam Westing from Family Guy. Just who here does not agree to this reunion of this marriage? Pipe down, you had your chance. It's one of those moments. Well, she's fighting off the urge to choke herself out. She loses, of course, because the ghost ends up floating to her. We see two hands cup up on the throat, and she basically kills herself. Straight up, just, I guess, chokes herself out, and she dies. Freaky ass shit, right? So then we cut to these police officers examining the body. There's a neighbor explaining, we found her like this. We know not to touch anything. And we eventually, the camera pans over to the woman's body, and they roll her over, and we see her, like, rigor mortis has set in. Like, that shit's, like, tight around her throat. Like, that officer is struggling to get her hands away from her own throat. And eventually, once they do, they find that there's a scar on her finger where she had the ring. And we see her face. It's terrifying. We thought the woman with the bug eyes and the half smile on her face was fucking creepy. No, this woman died of pure fear. They even said this in the movie to say straight up, we don't know how she died, but it looked like she got scared to death. I was saying the other week in Peeping Tom, I wonder what a face would look like if it was scared to death. Well, I got my answer. Thank you, Italian horror filmmaking. But yeah, oh god, this was just a fantastic story, and just the whole build up with the ghost, the whole back and forth, the droplets of water, and then the woman showing up repeatedly. Like, there were some parts I just failed to mention. The fact that at one point when she goes to one of the rooms, the woman's just sitting there in her rocket chair holding the cat. And another part, the woman's just standing there. Like, this ghost just appears in every fucking room of this woman's house. And one of the things I thought was just funny too, as she was dying, I forgot to mention this, that she's trying to choke herself out. She's screaming, "Have mercy, please have mercy on me." Like, bitch, you don't deserve mercy, okay? You were warned in the beginning of this movie as you were walking through the woman's room. Don't touch any of her stuff. It's cursed. She's gonna fuck you up. What do? You touched it anyway, brought that bitch home, now you're dead. Yeah, I no mercy for you, you get what you get. You die the way you die. But I thought overall this has to be a fantastic story. This one is one of the ones I didn't have too much of a problem with. I thought the lightings were really good. I liked a lot of the acting, the fucking, like, just the ghost. The ghost itself was just creepy. Like, and I don't say that about a lot of ghost movies, because most ghost movies nowadays, there's not really much to them, Maybe a little bit of blood, the ghost child there, oh, so creepy. But they literally went all the way out to just show us this disturbing face that's just plastered on this woman forever. And it's just creepy. Like, I don't want to be at her funeral. I don't want to see how the funeral goes. But yeah, it's actually the ending of all three stories. So my likes and dislikes for each of one. So let's go back to Telephone. Like I said, when it came to Telephone, it was really good. I like the suspense. I like the build up. I like the creepy voice phone calls that Frank was doing. His voice just is excellent, man. Excellent. Like, if he can get more of that gruffness, he would definitely be a contender for Ghostface's voice performer, for sure. But I just didn't like the aspect that the American version changed so much from the Italian version because, it was a taboo thing to have a lesbian lover and be a woman of the night and be stalked by your pimp. So they had to change some of that aspect to make it more of a supernatural moment of, oh, he's not her pimp, he's a ghost, and oh, Mary's just a friend. And so if you go in there watching and not knowing the actual full details of it, it does get a little confusing, just a little bit. And the only thing they added to it to, change is, again, instead of the flyer she gets underneath the door, the wanted poster, it's literally a letter that the ghost writes out as she's reading it. I just didn't get it. I really didn't. But I thought the acting was great. The lighting was really fun, especially the fact that we used a lot of natural lighting when it came to like the lamps in the background, a lot of shadows. We used more of the purple colors going on. I didn't think there was really like a lot of harsh reds or blues like in some of the other stories, but a lot of purple colors. And I like purple. Purple was really nice. Of course, A Drop of Water, 10 out of 10 for me. Everything from the sound effects to the acting to the scream queen herself to just the story in general. Just basic, straight to the point. I love it. This feels like a campfire story that you could sit down and just scare the shit out of children with. Love it, love it. Just my favorite one out of the bunch, I'm not gonna lie. But Vorlog. Let's just address the elephant in the room. I did not like that one as much. I wanted to. I really did, because Boris Karloff is an amazing actor, and I love this man. Like, he's fantastic. And his character is wonderful. I love the whole vampire thing. I like the fact that he's creepy, that we know he's a vampire, and he's killed to kill his family stuff. But the thing that was driving me fucking nuts was the Vladimir and his lover, Danica, whatever the hell her name was. Oh God, what's her name again? Sendanica. I couldn't take the relationship serious. I get it. They were writing it because the whole premise of this one is the Vorlog vampires. They only drink the bloods of the ones they love. We get it. He loves her. Okay, he's made that known within the hour of meeting her. Like he's the, again, goddamn Disney princess of Italian movies. Princess Vladimir over here, just falling madly in love after, what's your name? Oh, Sendanica? Oh, that's beautiful. I love you. Marry me. That's literally it. At least Cinderella had a dance. At least Snow White. Alright, maybe Snow White and him have like the same chemistry together, but every other Disney princess at least had a day of dialogue with their loved ones. But I don't know exactly who wrote which one. I want to say Chekhov wrote at least 2 of the 3 of these. I'm not sure who wrote the third one. Again, they had a lot of anonymous, unknown writers that worked on this movie. But this was a fun Italian anthology horror film. I don't watch a lot of Italian anthology horror films. Because, granted, I don't think there's a lot of Italian anthology horror films. Try to say that 5 times fast, guys. Seriously, try to. It's a tongue twister. But, yeah. Black Sabbath, don't confuse it with the band. 1963. You look it up on YouTube. They do have a couple of versions. They have both the Italian and the American version on there. Various qualities, various types. It's fun. I highly do recommend y'all check it out. But I'm going to go ahead in this podcast here. I hope everybody who has watched, is watching, will watch. I hope you enjoy. I hope everybody has a fantastic and a wonderful night. And as you watch this video here on YouTube, please give this video a like, subscribe, and a comment down below, because you never know what fuck's just going to happen here. Trust me, I never know. As we're going to slowly wrap up on horror movies around the world, we still have one more week with it's my Argentina horror film that I've chosen, called Terrified. That will be next week. And then the week after, we'll finally get to the Final Frame games. Oh man, that's been fun doing notes on that shit. I'm gonna be honest, I'm still trying to get through Fatal Frame 4, guys. I'm doing my best here, but between the podcast and Disney Dreamlight, I'm literally playing it at least once a week. But that is a story for another good day, guys. So until then, my friends, y'all take care.